I'm looking to get under the back end of this thing where we did some of our first work, and that's these patch panels, various spots in through here. And it was right above where the gas tank was, and that's why it rotted out, because of the moisture. So all of this is where we welded it, and you can see all the flux powder, and there's some scale rust, surface rust, all that business around here. So I'd like to be able to get the gas tank back in here, but first I'd like to just go ahead and knock this out and clean this up, smooth all this down, treat all the rust, get as much of it off as we can. This is a red primer right here, and then it kind of goes, the darker part is the rust over there. So we'll get this little vent out, all that kind of business, and see if we can get cleaned up and put that in. I hate getting underneath this stuff and doing this sort of thing. It's dirty, it's noisy. Looking up at it, even if you got glasses on, it still manages to get in the low point and go right into your tear duct, which gets into your eye. So right now I'm doing the floppy wheel, fairly fresh wheel there. And I'm smoothing out all the welds, all the wire that was sticking. I broke all the wires off and I started smoothing all the edges. To me, if it feels smooth, I can be pretty happy with it. I got to do this here, a little bit there, some right there. It's hard to get to with this in the way, but we'll get it. Or I have to use the air tool on it, but a little bit right there. So I get that. Most of this floor portion is pretty good. I'll hit it with the wire wheel, and then wire wheel all the way around these frame rails, cross member back here. Gosh, I'll show you something here. I was just trying to prep some of this so we can get in here and get this piece out. This was a little vent channel, a little chase that went over top of all this. Look at this. It's completely, geez. Big, scaly, chunky piece of rust. Wow. This needs to come out anyways. What the heck? Probably find Jimmy Hoffa in here. Okay, so it's a plastic piece. Just a little grommet so that those rubber hoses don't wear through and cause an explosion or something. Got one on each side. Put it here with the fuel tank. But heck, just wanted to show that to you before I got too far. Wow. Mostly blowing all the crap out of the frame rails so that when you go to put our coating up there, it doesn't keep dipping into it when you get into the little edges and the corners. So it's looking pretty good under here. I've got all the welds smoothed out, at least good enough where I can run my bare hand over them. And we kind of went through and I sanded it, just a good scuffing. And most of the problem really was on these edges, on the frame rails themselves, the cross member, not so bad here. But up in here, let me scoot in. Here's where your gas tank tabs are for the J-bolts. They had a lot of rocks and stuff behind there, so I was able to scratch a lot of that, and I blew the rest of it out, you saw. And in the corners, pretty good. In here, I went just to this bottom edge of this rail. And I'll do the same there. Like I said, I might clean this up. Well, I've done it a little bit, but I might go ahead and sand it down really good, make it ready for paint, but it's not my biggest concern. The big thing is, I do this quite a bit. Just make sure you got good ventilation. You take your brake clean, get all your tools out of the way. Make sure it's not too much dust in there because it will kind of clot it back together. And that does a pretty good job. It kind of helps degrease anything that's got a little bit of a residue still. Alright, so I was going to go a little further into some of what I was doing, but the camera died. I guess the battery had a little bit of a shorter lifespan than I thought it did on that one, but I went ahead and coated it twice. Looks pretty uniform. I might touch up a few places just to make sure it's sealed in there good. But I'm pretty happy with it. I got underneath the cross member, both frame rails from the corners up. I stepped up on the inside of this, the gas tank rail. Things hook in the J-bolts. Try to get this maybe here soon. I need to clean this. There's some welding. I don't know if that's from the factory or. I wouldn't be surprised. I've seen some pretty gnarly stuff. Like they may have had trouble getting it to take, so they just left it. So I might grind that down, clean it up a little bit, and just isolate. Alright, so I went ahead and made the decision to go ahead and jump on top of this bed and clean it up and get it ready for black. One, I'm tired of looking at all the oxidation that's occurring here after we've already cleaned it up with the wire wheel and the sanding disc and all that kind of stuff. So I want to go ahead and clean this up and get it in a nice satin black. The area that we just did that you saw was directly underneath here. So I'm just going to continue that forward and kind of isolate this, and then I'll do this portion about as far as I can reach here, and then I'll do the other part from the cargo area on the side. And we got a Brillo pad, 3M pad, it's a coarse pad if you want to know what that was, and then a straight vinegar, white vinegar. I didn't dilute it any, so I'm going to scrub it down, get it etched, get all this oxidation off here, and then we'll do our Eastwood rust encapsulator. Alright, so what you've been seeing me doing right now is taking just some clean water and a rag or a towel and just rinsing all the vinegar and debris loose, and you see it did pretty good. It took off any of that surface rust that developed. We'll use rust sealer over at the Eastwood, and I'll just kind of complete the rest of this. I put this towel down here. Since the van has a little bit of a rake, it'll come forward, and just to keep it from making a mess up there, it'll just kind of dam it down a little bit. So I'm going to wipe this down here, and then we'll hit it with a dry towel, and then we'll blow it dry with some compressed air. And I want to give a shout out as far as this to my friend Pete, SWRNC Pete. He's here on YouTube. He's got a lot of videos. He's the one that showed us how to do this vinegar on the bare metal type thing when you have a little bit of a surface rust. And it took off a lot of that, the new rust that had developed on here. And it does indeed etch it and allows your paint or your primer to adhere really good. So I just want to thank Pete for showing us how to do that, because it's really helped me out. Since I've started on this van and started using it, I used to go to a lot of extra lengths to deal with this sort of thing. And this speeds it up and does just as good of a job, if not better. I used to spend a lot of time just sanding it by hand, and you still might get a little bit of an adhesion problem. And then also I'd be putting the rust killer over top of it in areas where you could have managed it a little bit better, just like the top of these ribs where you see the bare metal. I would have probably just laid it on top of that in some cases after I'd sanded it, and it still had a little bit of a residue from it. This stuff here, like I said, it's not deep, but it's just been on there a long time. They probably used a lot of this. That's why it's concentrated here, and it was down there a lot. So we're just going to do the best we can on it, and I think it'll do us a really good job. Okay, so this thing has, we blew it out and everything, you saw that. It's been setting for about a half an hour. I check all the little seams, anywhere the water might kind of hang on to. It's pretty dry. Get our rust encapsulator out and ready to go. Okay, so I just went through with the second coat of the rust encapsulator. I let it set about an hour before I did the second coat. It pretty much, it was borderline dry all over, so there was not a lot of tack in it. You put it on the second coat, it seems to go on a little bit smoother. It flattens out pretty good, and when it does dry, it'll have like a semi-satin look to it. Look really clean. You can see I used the seat, the swivel seat that we just installed, to get back in that corner first before we proceeded to the rest of it due to the reach. And that was cool. That came in helpful. So we got this, it's going to dry for the night, and then kind of up in the air right now where we're going to go next. It's supposed to get cold again, so I don't think I'll be able to go to the sides over here and do the muriatic acid treatment. So I might proceed into some of this other stuff that's really not in the way. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We just don't want to get into doing something that we have to undo later. So you got to kind of think ahead what you're going to get into or something like that. So. All right, I think that'll do it on this. Just stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe, hit the little bell, and give us a follow. We're also on Facebook, Hoosier Garage, and we're also on Instagram, Hoosier Garage. So tell your buddies about us. Maybe if there's any big-time experts out there, you can help us out as well, because we're all in this together, right?